So you've got your first cherry shrimp but have no idea what to feed them. Keep watching to find out what my shrimp go crazy for versus what they avoid, like the plague. Hi, I'm a gamer's wife here with practical and proven tips to help fish enthusiasts like you. And when I started my first shrimp breeding tank, I was really nervous about what to feed them. I heard everything from feed mostly vegetables, don't want to bloat them with too much protein, but wait, they need enough protein to breed or they'll cannibalize each other. But wait, what about essential minerals for proper molting? And above all, don't feed them too much. It's enough information to make anyone go insane. Lucky for you, one of my favorite things to do is to feed my shrimp random stuff and see what happens. There's nothing like seeing a horde of shrimp swarm on food like ants on a piece of candy. At this point, I've fed my cherry shrimp 30 different kinds of food, so I'm gonna quickly summarize all the results for you. I'd say the number one most important thing for your tank is to grow tons and tons of biofilm and algae, because it's something that both adults and babies can eat and have 24/7 access to, day or night. Algae, of course, is real easy to grow. Just leave your lights on for 8 to 12 hours a day, and you should grow a healthy crop of it on your walls and various surfaces. I scrape the front panel of the aquarium for viewing purposes, and then leave the other 3 walls to get nice and green. The next important thing to do is to provide lots of fuzzy moss, fluffy plants, and floating plants with fuzzy roots. Anything that can easily trap food particles floating in the water. Not only do they provide safe hiding spots for the babies, but also the shrimplets can just park in one area and eat all the yummy crumbs that get caught. Even sponge filters are a great spot for shrimp to graze on because it continually sucks in food from the water column. Now let's talk about how to actively grow biofilm, which, by the way, is just that slimy coating of bacteria and other microorganisms that grows on all underwater surfaces, and happens to be what cherry shrimp naturally eat in the wild. A huge favorite of many shrimp keepers is dried catappa leaves, or Indian almond leaves. There are many other kinds of aquatic botanicals that are suitable for shrimp, but if you get the large catappa leaves that are kind of bigger than your hand, Flip Aquatics recommends feeding 1 Indian almond leaf per 20 gallons about once a month. So for me, I cut off half a leaf for my 10-gallon tank, and then whenever I start to see holes in the first leaf, I add a second piece, because it usually takes at least a week before the leaf stops floating at the surface and actually starts breaking down. In fact, if you're going out of town, Chris Lukop, aka the Shrimp King, recommends soaking several leaves in water for 3 weeks so they get really slimy with biofilm, and then dropping them in your shrimp tanks as a long-lasting vacation food. Perfect. Choya wood and Malaysian driftwood are both softer woods that are also great for breaking down more quickly and growing yummy biofilm for the shrimp. Just a heads up that adding all these leaves and driftwoods will add tannins and give your aquarium water a slight brownish tint. But with the amount of botanicals I'm using, I hardly notice the color change at all, until I do a water change. Whoa. And if you're looking for an actual jar of food you can buy to feed your shrimp babies and greatly increase their survival rate, get Bacter AE. It's basically a powder food that spreads all over the tank and contains microorganisms and other nutritious compounds that boost the growth of biofilm. It comes with a little measuring spoon with dosing instructions on the back, so for my 10-gallon tank, I feed about 1/4 a scoop at least once a week. Honestly, at that rate, my little jar of Bacter AE is gonna last forever, but it is a fairly expensive purchase. So if you don't have the funds to spare, you can also make your own DIY powder food by crushing up fish flakes and algae wafers using a little coffee grinder. So thanks to Mark's Shrimp Tanks for that awesome tip. Okay, now that we're past the biofilm/algae section, the rest of the video is gonna talk about my favorite foods, pretty good foods, and rejected foods that my shrimp won't touch. To be labeled a favorite food means that as soon as I drop it in, the whole tank swarms it. It's the best bait for catching shrimp to sell. So far, I haven't bought that many specialty shrimp foods, but the 2 I've tried are definitely on the favorites list. MK Breed Cheeseburger, which is an all-in-one comprehensive food, and Shrimp King Mineral, which provides extra minerals that help with molting and such. Both break down very easily, allow shrimps of all sizes to share without a ton of fighting, and every morsel gets cleaned up. No leftovers whatsoever. Their favorite vegetable is canned green beans by far. I like the French cut version because then the softer insides of the bean are easily accessible. And finally, they go nuts for Repashy gel food. I've tried Community Plus and Soylent Green so far, and they're great. Very, very soft, flakes off into tons of floating particles for the babies to eat, and you can also feed them the straight powder form if you like. Okay, category number 2 is the pretty good second place foods. The shrimp definitely go for it, but I don't feed them as often, more as an occasional treat. They love any kind of powdered food, whether it's crushed up flakes, powdered fry food, or Sarah O nip tabs, which breaks down into a million particles. Their second favorite vegetable is canned carrot slices. I should probably feed it more often and see if the beta carotene enhances their red coloration. Lastly, frozen foods of any type, like bloodworms, daphnia, and baby brine shrimp. They're excellent protein sources to help promote breeding, but the adults seem to hog them all, leaving nothing for the youngins. And then we have the foods that my shrimp, or I, just hated for one reason or another. For prepared foods, I tried Hikari crab cuisine and algae wafers, which, don't get me wrong, are both great nutritionally, but they don't break down as quickly, so only the adults get to eat them. They'd probably be just fine if I took the time to crush them up in the coffee grinder. I also got a free sample of Ocean Nutrition shrimp wafers from Aquashella, and nobody would touch them. Rejected. Now in the fish world, live foods are like the best thing ever, right? But don't try it with cherry shrimp. They're called scavengers for a reason, and won't even eat live baby brine shrimp or the sea shrimp I see crawling all over the algae-covered walls. Okay, when it comes to vegetables, mine are super picky and don't like anything remotely tough, like spinach, Brussels sprouts, whole peas with the shell on, and okra. I'm not saying they wouldn't have eventually eaten them if there was nothing else around, but that's not a great review. Even the zucchini squash attracted very few shrimp, but 24 hours later, it did somehow get consumed. All right, my favorite part, future stuff to try out. Obviously, this is not a comprehensive list of every shrimp food in the world, so there's tons of stuff I still want to experiment with, like other blackwater botanicals to make biofilm, snowflake food, aka soybean shells, and then there's also shrimp lollies, spirulina algae powder, bee pollen, dandelion, nettles, the list is endless. If you stuck around to the end, this is what I did to celebrate 10,000 subscribers. I dyed my hair for the first time, dark cherry cola, to match the shrimp, of course. Just kidding. If you want to see more tutorials about red cherry shrimp, check out my playlist over here and subscribe to join the community. Next week, I'll be talking about my fish stocking list for the Shy Guys jungle tank, so you don't want to miss it. Take time to enjoy your aquariums, and I'll see you in the next video.